Welcome, ladies, to another virtual meeting. Today is Greyce Brennan. So she's going to take it over and tell us all the secret on how to represent yourself as a publicist. Greyce, take it over.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. Let me know if put a message in the chat if my Wi-Fi ever gets a bit slow. I'm visiting my family right now during the summer, but everything should go good. Just flag me if there's any problems. Okay, great. So as mentioned, I've worked in publicity since I graduated from the University of Maryland. So a bit about me is now in kind of 2021, I made the switch. So I work in music journalism. I write for Business Insider, Holler Country, Songwriting Magazine, Building Our Own Nashville, and House Nest. I've done album reviews. I've done interviews with artists such as Colby Calais, and some other like kind of pop, country, folk singer-songwriters. And also, as well, I work in publicity at the same time as my journalism. So I support indie artists and brands in storytelling and media outreach. I help provide PR plans, industries, and just really helping them build their brand and their stories with intention. I also teach at FAP is a French communication school, and I teach at their Paris campus, media relations and copywriting to master's students. So I'm very familiar with kind of just starting and giving the lay of the land in terms of the media landscape. So feel free to ask any questions as I go through. There's no dumb questions. The media industry, as I'm sure you're all aware, changes every day, every month. So anything you're not familiar with or anything I need to explain in more detail, just feel free to put it in the chat. I've kind of divided it up into 5 parts, and I'll do my best to time it out so we have some extra time at the end for questions. So the first part I'm going in is why you should be your own publicist. To start, I was actually inspired by the Amplify Heard chat to do this webinar because I see so many people spend so much money on PR firms really early in their artist career and then get disheartened when it doesn't go as planned, so or as they expected. So that's the first part. Then we're going to go over an indie artist PR journey. This is one I outlined, and there's no complete right or wrong way to do it. So if yours doesn't look exactly like that, that's okay. We'll go over the basics of some basics that you need to have before you start this. And then pitching one-to-one. So how do you talk to a journalist or a publication that you're interested in being in? And then we can go into answer that question, pop up in a second. But then we'll go into when to hire outside help and when to take that next step to get someone else involved. And I did see a question. Yes, could you define early career, please? Is this defined in metrics or years? Early career, I would say, it's going to obviously vary by what you want out of your career. So if you're looking to financially support yourself, then maybe that's before you're able to financially support yourself. Or if you're looking to go on tour, maybe that's the first time you get to open for someone. So it can definitely vary, but I would say considering what your individual goals are. And I would also say so many people that I've worked for as a music journalist that have actual PR firms, they are so busy that's why they hired a PR firm, is because they don't have any extra time to do that outreach or to take over that career. They're managing their socials have stuff that's possibly gone viral. Most of them have around 100,000 followers. So totally up for interpretation and what your goals are out of it. Some people really care about being financially independent with their music. Some people it is more of a creative project. So that's up for interpretation. So going into why to be your own publicist, at least to start. And the number one thing is, I would say, is that it's an investment, and investments require research. Just like how you wouldn't randomly trust someone to manage your social media. When you're starting on social media, you have that vision of what you probably want it to look like. You have a lot of inspiration. You wouldn't just trust some random person to take over it, or you wouldn't just pay someone thousands of dollars to manage it from the beginning. I would say similar to publicity and like media, you don't want to just like trust someone immediately without any strong foundation. And I would say most reputable places aren't also going to just like take your money if they don't think they can really help you. So it should be a mutual conversation. So this is kind of what the price ranges usually are, at least in the UK. It can vary based on like London versus probably Manchester or Brighton, but this is just like a range. So PR campaigns for like a single can be 500 to 1,500 per campaign. EP PR campaigns can start around 1,000 and then go up to 2,500 pounds. Albums can be 2,000 to 5,000 pounds per campaign. There's some retainer models. That just means you pay someone or an organization monthly for an ongoing PR campaign, and that can be around 500 to 1,500 a month. Radio plugging, usually a lot of PR firms, you'll notice they offer that as well. That's 500 to 2,000 pounds. And then playlist pitching, kind of an adjacent thing, but that can be 100 to 500 per track. So just to give you kind of an overview of what you can expect when you do want to take that step, and just why it's so important that you really understand what you're looking for, because this is a huge investment when it comes to your music. And I love to see artists focus their money at the beginning of their career on just like making really good music. So there's some other things just to make sure you have like the vision that you want. As I mentioned, similar to social media, you want to know like what type of coverage you want. And what I mean when I say that is that you really want to know like who you want reading this article, what type of story you want, and like what type of interest you want to gauge when you are getting this coverage. Are you looking for more people to follow you on social media? Or do you have a show that you are looking for people to attend? Are you looking for people to understand that you're an artist who cares about mental health, or there's another aspect of you that you really want to promote? You also need to know music media. So if you've never read Rolling Stones, or if you never have read the places that you want coverage in, you should start there and get a direction and become a regular at reading music media. Just like social, someone to just take your Instagram if you've never been on Instagram or you never logged in on Instagram. So really like take some time to follow the publications on their socials, sign up for their newsletters, see who they're interviewing, see who works for them, follow those individual people, and show that you are really serious about it and it's not just a one-off thing. Also, I think it's so important to stay realistic, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're working for a PR firm. No reputable PR firm should guarantee coverage. If you ever talk to a PR firm that guarantees that they're going to get you an X, Y, and Z, they shouldn't do that. PR is all about relationship building. So it's about getting feedback. It's about gaining connections. It's about hopefully getting that pitch that will land. And it is a learning process. And I know in this industry, and when you have a limited budget, that can be really hard. And that's why I'm such an advocate for starting yourself. And the last thing I want to say is that you need to know your narrative before you delegate. So just like getting really and what sets you apart, because the more you know yourself and the more you know your story, the easier it's going to be for someone to come in and help you tell that. This is a very, very, very simplified indie artist PR journey. As I mentioned, every PR journey can look the same, and I'm in no way saying that there's one exact right way to do it, and if someone says something else, that they're wrong. This is just how I would suggest people to do it. The number one thing is to know yourself, know your artistry and where you fit into your genre, lineage, and like what makes your story unique as a music artist. 2, is make really good music. Of course, that might sound oversimplified, but we'll get into it. And I want to see artists put their money, their time, and their energy on making really good music, because of course that makes everything a lot easier. Perform that music. Other artists and know what is what's unique about your fan base or those people that listen to your music. What do they have in common? Then we have the basics, have the basics ready. So what are those PR basics? And number 5 is when to hire outside help. And also when to start reaching out to those journalists and what that should look like. So I showed some examples on the right of some female artists that have really strong stories to tell, and they're really strong in their artistry. Like obviously Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter. When Taylor Swift began her career, she had a very clear vision. So these are great examples of knowing yourself. And how would you describe your music? What's the mission of your artist project? What and how do you want listeners to connect to you? You should be able to know on the spot your elevator pitch. So how can you sum up your music in 1 to 2 sentences? If someone were to ask you in an elevator, like, what is your artist career? Like, what type of music do you make? How would you say that quickly and effectively so that they know exactly where you stand? Genre fit and lineage. So you might be inspired by some people, but also like what sets you apart? What are some people from different decades that you've been inspired by? Have a greater kind of mission. Sabrina Carpenter was really good with this, and she partnered with Dolly Parton and said that she was greatly inspired by Dolly Parton. And you might not put 2 and 2 together, but you can tell that there's some influences there. What makes you unique? Could we have an example of a perfect elevator pitch, please? Let me try to do one on the spot. So for Chappell Roan, I would say Chappell Roan can say that she is a queer artist that has pop anthems that, there's probably some production words in there that make her music, so catchy and so unique. And she, I would say also it just has that edgy lyricism is something there as well. But we can talk more about that as well. And Taylor Swift, I would say Taylor Swift from the beginning, she was like a young, fresh face in country music, mixing country and pop, but keeping personal storytelling at the core of her writing and looking to connect with teen and young female writing. So something like that. Why it matters. Just because clarity helps you pitch perfectly, and you don't want people to be confused about your artist project mixing you up with other artists, and you just want to be confident from the get-go. So this might sound self-explanatory, but make really good music. This is just something I noticed with indie artists. They might get focused on something else. So instead of focusing on just making really good music, they have good music, they perform it live, but then they're like, oh, do I need to divide up my PR budget with my recording on making the best music possible, and then taking that next step later. So be intentional also with your music. The more intentional you are with your lyrics, your instrument choices, your song placements on an album, what you do at your live shows, that's going to be a better story in general, and that's going to make you stand out to a journalist or someone that wants to talk to you. Your artistry needs to remain your personal artistry throughout it. It's not someone else's. And also get personal not only in your music, but also when you perform live. Go with intention, because journalists love stories and they love hearing about how your work has impacted other people. That's really all PR is. It's just how can you and your music impact other people? Say, get honest feedback. So just get as much industry feedback. How can I improve this before I pitch it somewhere? How do you think I can improve my shows? How do you think I can better connect with my audiences? Just always look for feedback when you can, and write the story before the press release. So just don't do it backwards. Don't have like a press release ready to go, but pair your music with cohesive visuals, photo, cover, videos that match the story and the sound. They should all add to it. And then you can write your press release after you have all of that completed. So I gave an example of like Avery Anna is an artist I spoke with. She's indie, but I think she's like on the verge of being like not indie anymore. I believe she signed with Warner. But she's been very, very intentional about her artistry project, which has made my job in speaking with her really easy, because I know exactly who I'm going in and I know her mission. I know who I'm talking to. I'm sure like any other journalist that spoke with her has had the same ease, because she's so intentional about everything she does. And she's been that way from the get-go. So even though she is signed with Warner now, and she does have a PR firm that I work with, and that's how I was connected to her, they just set up the interviews for her, but she's ready to go. And she is intentional about everything she does, which makes it just so easy to write a really great story about her and to have a really great interview with her. So going in to the next step, I would say, is like performing that music. You might not think that your live performances have anything to do with your PR strategy, but they are such a great space for you to understand your audience better and understand where you should focus your energy, and also to develop stories that you can pitch to journalists. So as I mentioned with Avery Anna, this was a local publication that she spoke with about her Let Go letters. And her Let Go letters are basically like her fans come to her concerts and they bring letters of stuff they've been holding in that they've been wanting to let go of, and they like drop it off at her merch table, and she can read them after the show. It's a great way for her to connect with her fans. She gets lyric ideas from them. And it's also just like an amazing story. So when I was talking to her, I loved speaking about that, because she uses her concerts as more than just a live performance, but it also, at concerts, you get to know like, who are your fans? Are they mostly females, or are they a mix of people? What are their like demographics? Are they like working professionals? Are they more college students? What do they have in common? And why do they show up for you? Do they show up because they find your music therapeutic, or because it's fun, upbeat, and they're just wanting to have a night out with their friends? Try to gauge that, even if it's a small audience. You don't really need a big audience to understand who those people are and why they show up. Find also like what connects. So like when you're performing, use that as an opportunity to know what music makes people sing, cry, dance, or post stories online. This is so difficult for a songwriter of other artists who doesn't tour. Yes, totally valid. And songwriters don't get as much publicity, I would say. There's very like few songwriters who do interviews and stuff like that. But I will also say a lot of songwriters I spoke with who do stuff for other artists prefer that, and kind of prefer to be more behind the scenes. But there's obviously contradictions to everything. And there are specific venues where songwriters just sing their songs, in LA and in London, I believe. And they perform the songs that they sing for other artists. That's a great place too. So knowing what connects and like what resonates with your audience. And like Taylor Swift always said that All Too Well wasn't supposed to be a single, and her audience connected with it. So much larger scale, but still the same thing. Check your DMs and post-show comments. So people might say like, hey, I love that song last night, or I've been listening to this. What are people posting on their stories? What makes people, no exposure equals no opportunities to connect with publishers, labels, artists, etc. equals no paid work. I guess there is some truth to that, but I also will say songwriters usually get their publishing deals by working with artists and then getting connected to a publisher. Usually songwriters connect with artists through like social media DMs and just like having a really good portfolio on SoundCloud or Spotify. So I will say a lot of songwriters, some of the best songwriters out there, like Soli, Sarah Solovey, she works for Teddy Swims. She doesn't do any interviews at all. Some of the songwriters that work like Kelsey Ballerini, Fletcher, even like Kenny Chesney, they absolutely do no interviews. I know that because I've tried to talk to them. So paid work, usually the publisher is supposed to pay you. So if you're doing work for a publisher, they should pay you. And indie artists, unfortunately, I also do songwriting with indie artists, and I don't get paid for that unless it gets enough streams. So there is a problem there, but that's a general music problem besides publishing, I would say. No worries, no worries. So your lyrics, voice, instruments, your vibe, is it an acoustic moment or a crowd engagement? What sets you apart from other people? Like what says fan base's uniqueness. So understand what makes them loyal, what they care about. Is it maybe that your lyrics are just like really fun? Is it that there's a mental health aspect? Are you like in the queer community? Your story and your fan base's story is your superpower in PR. Have the basics. Still using Avery as a good example here, but you just really want to make sure all your basics connect. So have a clear artist bio and an elevator pitch, as we talked about. Your bio should probably just be like a paragraph or two. You don't need to go into where you performed recently unless it's like a big venue and you made a debut. But really just talking about like what the mission of your artist project, what your sound is like, who inspired you, and maybe some of your recent singles, professional photos, and visual identity. I'll be the first to say that I don't even think people need super professional photos now because there's such a big, you see artists using film, you see artists using Polaroids. I would say really focus more on the cohesive identity side, just so that when people see your social media and your press release, they put two and two together. I can recognize Avery Anna's stuff from the side, from anywhere I see it. Social media alignment. If you're intimate on your stage performances, I'd say also try to be like more intimate on your social media as well. Greyce Abrams did great with that by, she would just like perform like in her bathrobe sometimes, and it aligned perfectly with her social media, or with her social media aligned perfectly with her live performances. Having a press kit, we'll go over a bit of what that can entail, website, newsletter. I would say you can focus on one, two, or all three. I would say just make sure you have really one that's really strong, at least from the beginning. Of course, having a strong or a clear release timeline. I think if you can plan out the next 6 months of what your song releases are, then that would be amazing. I know that depends on a lot of factors, but the clearer timeline you have, the more you'll be able to spend time and plan all this. Having a media list, which is basically just the journalists you want to speak with and their contact information, and story angles and a press release. So story angles is just saying like, I would love about how this town impacted my artistry, etc. And a press release would just be talking about like a new single. And you can keep the press release generic, but I'd say keep the story angle and pitching one-on-one. So as I mentioned, the number one most important thing is making sure that you know who you're pitching to and you have some media literacy, you read music media before you start pitching. Number one most important thing is your artist project, of course, but in media relations, it's understanding your direction. So these are some journalists that have spoken with indie artists, probably similar to you, if you're an artist, and have spoken with people, like done interviews. We do best ofs, or focus on local artists, or only write about female artists. Charlotte Gunn from the 45, her whole publication is just focused on female artists, and she's based in London. I also, of course, included myself, had to include myself, but just because I can talk more about the type of work I do. So Songwriting Magazine, I focus more on acoustic artists who maybe aren't really in the pop space, but are really intentional with their lyrics. I look for people who are just want to open up about their songwriting. A lot of them are like poets as well, more lyric writing. And we talk mostly about that. So I always am happy when someone reaches out and says, like, I noticed you spoke with so-and-so. I have a similar songwriting process, and I would love to speak about how like songwriting has helped my mental health, or how I've been able to connect with my fans through my confessional lyrics. So going into that, I kind of just started touching on it actually. But it's important that you know the journalists, that you've been following their work for more than 30 seconds. You know what genre they cover. You know why they should care about your music. You know where you fit into what they're interested in. And what do you like about them? So do they ask really good questions? Do they seem to have a good rapport with the artists they speak with? Do you appreciate that they focus on local artists? Do you appreciate that they focus on independent artists? It's always nice when someone says, like, I admire that you are willing to speak with such an array of people, or that you speak with people in this genre. Make sure your email to every music journalist is personalized. I can't tell you how many mass sends I get from people who just say like, hi there, and don't even take the time to say, hi, Greyce. So use their name, reference a recent piece they wrote, say like, I read your recent interview with so-and-so, and I think you would like my music because we have a very similar sound, or we've been told we sound alike. Have a clear story and know what you're like asking for them. Don't just say like, hi, great, here's my press release. Say like, I would love to speak with you for 15 minutes, or if you have 30 minutes, I would love to speak with you about my new single, my new EP. I would say in general, EP and albums are just so much better to speak with because they have more of a deeper story. Obviously, if you have a really meaningful single, people can speak about that, but in general, I think waiting for that EP or album to really focus is great. Include your press kit, your electronic press kit, and press release. So your press kit can just be like photos, bio, links to your mastered tracks, the socials, and any like key dates, upcoming shows you have. Be ready to respond. So make sure that if they respond to you, you're really quick with sending any additional photos, lyrics, or interview availability. Usually they might have more limited time. So just making sure you're ready, like when you send that email out, double check your links and make sure everything's working. There's been so many times where I'll click on something and it doesn't work, and I won't have like the patience to go back. So the easier you make it for a journalist, the easier it'll be for everyone involved. And keep it concise. You do not need to write like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Keep it as short as possible, I would say, and as concise as possible, because the easier it is for us to read and the easier we understand why we should connect with your music, or why we should speak with you, then that's better. This is an example pitch. I use Charlotte from the 45. I don't think she ever spoke with Avery Anna. This is completely like just a fun draft sample. This is not a real pitch. So this would be like a great example. So, dear Charlotte, I hope you're well. I'm reaching out because I was reading your interview, and with the bolded text, I would link the interview. Sometimes we don't remember all the interviews we've ever had with Avery Anna for the 45, and really appreciated the questions you asked regarding her Let Go letters to her concerts. I'm also an indie singer-songwriter based in Nashville and have been greatly inspired by Anna's work. People often say we sound alike. Thus, I'd love to invite you and a +1 to my upcoming London show, July 21st at 6 p.m. and would be thrilled to offer you a backstage interview. During our chat, I'd be happy to share about my upcoming EP coming out in October, which consists of 6 tracks based on a recent breakup, my recent experience writing with Grammy Award-winning songwriter Lori McKenna in Boston. It can be anything. It can be like opening up for so-and-so, or it doesn't have to be a Grammy Award-winning songwriter. how living in Nashville the past 3 years improved my songwriting and influenced my EP. Can you please let me know if this is of interest? Any feedback is much appreciated. So also making it clear that open to that. I say just go in with like a bigger offer, and people usually appreciate the time and the energy that you took into writing this. They'll acknowledge that. So even if you get like a, hey, I can't right now, or I can't attend this, maybe we could do a one-off interview later. It might be after your EP comes out, just to make that connection. So I hope this is clear and helps some people with their reaching out. You can link to your upcoming show, link to your Spotify. But yeah, just keep it concise and clear so that as soon as they finish reading the email, they know exactly what they can expect from you in the future. There we go. Oh, I'll open this up. I think I need to reshare. Hold on. Because this is a link.
We can see it. It's a PR package 101, right?
Yes, I think it's a video. So I need to open it up to, I need to share the Instagram. Let's see. Business. Oh, here we go. Share something else. Instagram. Okay. We're gonna swap pages real quick. Let me see if this.
As an independent artist with a
Is the
small
audio
budget, I am
working or
sending
does it not work?
Oh, it's working. It's working.
Amazing. Okay, let me just refresh this then. This is a really, really great example of an indie
new
artist.
album as an independent artist with a small budget. I am sending out PR packages. At first, I thought I was gonna buy boxes, but they were too expensive. So instead, I got these bubble mailers. I got them customized, so they're still cute, and it'll be cheaper to ship. Each person's gonna get a CD, flyers, which have my tour dates on it, a Big Mouth sticker. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that game where you can like have different mouths hanging from your nose. And then I got these little, oh my god, these little noisemakers, and I got them customized so they say Big Mouth, the debut album. These can just sit on people's desks and remind them about my album, and it's like a conversation starter. And the very last thing that I'm throwing in is the Big Mouth lip gloss, which is available in my merch store right now. You can get one as well. It's real lip gloss that you can use. I'm obsessed. And that's it. We're gonna close up the package. Obviously, the hope is that it reminds people about the album and then they go to listen to it or post about it, etc. when it comes out. I think it looks so cute and I'm so excited for everyone to receive this.
Okay, now I will swap back. Great. So that's a PR package, and I believe she sent it out to influencers as well as journalists and stuff, and it just showed a really a lot of thought behind her artistry, I believe it was her debut album, and she was still doing all her PR, and I believe she had around 200,000 followers on Instagram at that time. So she was very intentional and was her own biggest advocate. I still don't think she signed, but I do think she has her own PR team now. So going into when to hire outside help. So of course I included a thing about if you ever want to work with me, but that's just aside. So if you have an upcoming release, like I mentioned, an EP or an album, that's the most important things usually in an artist's career. If you have a single, you might not need to hire help or look for help with that. The more intention behind it, like you want people to see the tip of the iceberg, and underneath there's a big iceberg. You'll know when to do it. To build momentum. So if you're already really active on social media, if you're already really active on TikTok, if you have a really large following and you're just looking to continue that momentum, but you don't know exactly where to start, but you already have a big following, then hire some outside help. And if you're just too busy, so maybe like you got offered to open up on tour for someone, you are active on your socials, you have a full-time job, but stuff is growing really quickly, then you can consider hiring some outside help. And for me, like I do more consultant work instead of an agency, so more just like to get a base instead of hiring an agency on a retainer, or instead of working with multiple people, I work with indie artists just to really help them get the foundations so that they feel confident on their own to manage their own PR for the years to come instead of hiring people for temporary campaigns. And this is my last thing. It's just like, if you want to connect with me, like I'm a music journalist, but I have a really strong foundation in PR. I worked in PR in both Washington, DC and Paris before I switched over to working in PR in the music industry. So if you ever wanted help with crafting a clear artist bio, elevator pitch, getting feedback on visual identity, press kits, websites, newsletters, Substacks is also something I'm recently having a lot of interest in. Going into like what is a clear timeline for maybe the next 6 months to a year, having some accountability there, creating a targeted media list and connecting with those journalists on socials. If you have trouble finding a journalist, artist, cost to get a consultant up. Consultants can totally range. So I would say it's really hard to know how much a consultant can cost, because it usually will just on how much it'll usually cost, like how much time it is. For me, it's more of like a passion thing. So it's more, I do it out of love for it. So if people are on tight budgets, I'm willing to work with it, because I'd rather help someone out with their artist career at the beginning than see them lose a lot of money to a PR agency. And connect on socials with those journalists and make sure you are following them from the second you like wake up to the second you go to sleep, so that you are really become knowledgeable in it, and shape your story angles and pitches. So maybe just sitting down and talking about like, how can we, what makes you unique? And sometimes you need like a third person viewpoint to really dissect your story and see what angles we can pitch there and who we can pitch it to. So I have my email down there, I have my website, and I also have my Instagram, which is just a professional Instagram. I don't post too much on there, so feel free to just send me a DM. And that is it. And I think we have like 20 minutes for any like questions and buffer time.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? You can put them in chat or raise your hand. I have a question, Greyce.
Yeah.
While we wait, do you think it's still like blogs, like written blogs, are still as important as, you know, social media influencers and all that kind of stuff? Because people read less nowadays, or discover music less through magazines.
I would say they are. It depends what you do with it. Like I would say if you use that blog to open up to someone about something like important in your like artistry career. So like, let's say like you're an artist and you were inspired by your sobriety, and you talk with a blog about like how music has impacted your sobriety and stuff like that, and use as a really meaningful conversation, then I think go all for it. Like that's a great way to connect with a subsect of people. But I think like blogs that are just general blogs, and you're maybe just talking about like your EP, but you're not saying anything different than what you're saying on social media, then I don't think it's as important. I think if you're going to speak with a blog, make sure it's like a really different conversation than what someone's just going to see scrolling through your feed, because you have more of that attention span.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, do you want to ask the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I used to work in PR a long time ago, and people used to get on the phone. That used to kind of the typical way that people pitched.
Yeah.
So I really just wanted to know what's the norm these days, also in terms of the phone. Like what do you and when?
So phone, I would say, is like only for full-time journalists, which would be like people who work more in like the political side and like crisis news side. So for music side, phone isn't really used as much unless it's like a WhatsApp. But I will say that opens up the door for pitching, for there to be a lot less rules. So I've had people pitch me through email, like casual emails. I've also had people like pitch me through DMs, and like you'd be surprised like how much I like respond with them, and how much I've connected with people just through a DM being like, hey, like, this is really cool. If you ever want to speak with me, like, I would love to speak with you because I like loved this interview. So I would say there's a lot less like rigid rules.
Thank you.
We have some questions in the chat if you want to take them, or I can read.
Yes. Let me go. Okay, great. What's the best way to get the email of journalists, bloggers, and radios? Is having a website important nowadays? So the best way to get the emails of journalists, bloggers, and radios usually is going to be just like on those sites. Most of them have a link to it. There's also this thing called Muck Rack where you might be able to find people's emails. Most journalists have their own independent website, which you can like put a contact form in. I get contact forms pretty regularly. And also basically all journalists will have like an X account or an Instagram account. So feel free to like send them a message there. Maybe they have an email listed there and just say like, hey, I'm searching for your email, contact it. Obviously, if you work with a PR agency, which once you get to that point, they will have all those emails. So that is a benefit to PR agencies because those are shared pretty openly for reputable PR agencies. I will say there's some PR agencies that don't guarantee that, but a big PR agency would. Great. What's a good website for playlist pitching? And is it a good investment? Okay, so playlist pitching is pitched a lot as a thing, and I would say pitch it independently. I don't think at the start of your career, you need to worry too much about that until you probably have a song with like over 100,000 streams. And I don't do as much work in playlist pitching, but usually PR firms generally like have someone on the side do it. But yeah, I would say it's less return on investment for how much it can cost. And most artists, if you want a sustainable career, like you're not looking just to get one song on a playlist. You want people like really understand your music. So that's why I would say do more investment in like a longer term strategy than just getting more streams. Because there's so many artists that have a good amount of streams or get on a playlist and then we don't really hear from them again. So yeah, sorry if that wasn't explaining enough. I'm an over-explainer and struggle coming up with an elevator pitch. Don't worry, me too. Although my vision in terms of aesthetics and sound is very clear in my head, do you have any tips on how to get there? Yes. So I would say, like, I feel like ChatGPT gets a bad reputation. Do not use ChatGPT to write an email. Do not use it to fully write a press release. But for something like an elevator pitch, ChatGPT can be really great in just making everything as clear and concise. So maybe write like a one-pager or a whole paragraph on what your artistry project is. And that would be a great use of ChatGPT. But I will say, have other people read it, say, does this, like, is there any adjectives in this that sounds weird? Adjust the adjectives to make it authentic to you, because nothing is more of a turn off than an email or like a bio that's entirely ChatGPT written. It's very obvious. But I think as a tool, it can be really helpful for stuff like that. Can someone spell that, please? If you can let me know what we need spelled, I will do my best. And when sending a press release email, how many times should I follow up? Oh, that's such a good question. I would say maximum twice and give it like a few days and a week. I never have resented anyone for following up, so don't worry about that. I would say maybe just if you don't hear back, sometimes stuff can go to spam, send a new email and maybe like copy, like, let's say you have your debut album coming out and you are reaching out like a month or so ahead of it, maybe 3 months if you're well planned. You can follow up a couple of times. And then let's say the day your album comes out, copy those messages in a new email, send a new email to someone, to the journalist, and say, I don't know if you received my previous stuff, but I just want to let you know my album is out today and I would still really love to talk with you about it. So have no shame in the game. If you need to follow up, that's okay. And I've never heard anyone being upset that someone followed up too much. What's the format for a press release? Good question, because I think there's the traditional format where you need to put the address and all that stuff. I wouldn't worry about that. I would say just make it like a header have your contact information in the top left or right corner, and have like the body be in a similar like press release format. You can like Google like press release template, and you can go off of that, just like make it original and make it fun. Also, if you ever need references, Warner Chappell, all the major record labels still put out press releases whenever an artist comes out with something. So you can literally use that as your template. So don't be afraid to type in Warner Chappell press release or new artist album drop press release, because they will be there. And those are usually public. The website or service where I can find journalists' email address, yes, Muckrack, MUCKRACK, Muckrack. That is like a pretty pricey one, but if you work for a bigger company, they usually cover it. Of course. Are there any other questions? Sorry, I feel like I went through these questions so quickly.
Somebody asked if a website was nowadays important.
I would say, I mean, they just cost so low and they're really easy to maintain. So I would say yes, like have a website, because they are just a good way to link everything. And it's a good way to just like make sure you have everything cohesive. And like I think my website costs like £50 or £60 a year. So just like don't spend thousands of dollars on it. You don't need to hire someone to do it. But I would say until the moment you don't need it, don't worry about it, or just have it as a place to store everything. Because I'll go through and like if I'm looking for someone's photo and I can't find it in my email chain, I can just search their name on Google Images, and because they have a website, like all that stuff will pop up. Also, we are in the world of AI and we are in the world of ChatGPT. So if someone's like, hey, who is this? And they ask ChatGPT who this is, if you have your own website, you're way more likely to be relevant there. So I just say it doesn't hurt. It's worth the like $50, but you don't need to spend more than like an afternoon on it. Great, are there any other questions?
This is the time.
And as I mentioned, I do have my email and my Instagram, so feel free to follow me and I'll follow you back and we can connect there. If you have any questions, I love helping indie artists out, so don't feel like it's something, don't feel like you can't ask me a question or something like that. Like I'm an open book.
When do you think somebody could come to you? Like, is there any time frame you think, even because you're like preparing everything with them? When do you think that's the time?
Great. Yeah, so you said pitch like 3 months before. I think if you have an album that you have put a lot of time into, 3 months is like a really great way just to get started. Maybe you don't need to pitch 3 months before, but like start making your media list. Oh, we got a bunch of questions now. Start making a media list and really start that process. So I think, yeah, 3 months before something is set to go is enough time to really dissect it. But I think if you're looking more from just a foundation, there's never too early to like set that foundation, never too early to start following people on social media, never too early to start subscribing to newsletters and following journalists and their interviews. Great, wait, I lost, thanks. Yeah, pitch. So is that how early we're supposed to be doing it? Yeah, there's no exact timeline. I would say 3 months before is like a good way to stay busy, but never too early. Is it worth it to reach out to journalists after release too? Yes, I think if you have a specific angle. So as long as you're saying like, hey, like I would love to speak about like Avery Anna has those let go letters at concerts, or I would love to speak about the work I'm doing for a charity, or this award I won, or my upcoming show at something. As long as you have something very concise and time relevant for them and for you, I think you can reach out whenever. Would you say it's important to reach out to blogs or journalists in your local scene, or is it more important to focus on genre, or does it really depend on your artist's story? I would say both. I would say, especially if you're in a like if you're in a city that prides itself on something, like Nashville, they're very prideful on local artists. I'm sure like it's a place like Brighton, London, maybe a little less so because it's just such a major city for everything. I think local, it's totally worth it. And same like genre as well. But you can also hit the jackpot where you have a genre publication that's also local and you can invite them to a show and you can do both at the same time. How many photos do you need in a press kit? Ooh, good question. I would say have like 5 to 10, have them from different photos or have them from different angles, different sizes. And that way you hopefully won't get any questions back on how to, sometimes it just doesn't fit with like our formatting. So that's really just a formatting thing. But I say 5 to 10 great photos. Great. I think those are all the questions.
Well done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to like send me an email or send me a DM. Like I'm really an open book and I love helping people with their artist projects. And I really hope I can learn more about all your guys' artist work. They're so efficient. Thank you.